The Rise and Fall, which is the entrance track to this Rise and Fall album by Madness, is, again, doesn't grab me. It's not that there's anything wrong with the song, it's just it's not something that grabs me. And Madness, in my mind, they grab you. Their singles grab you. They're somebody who do get your attention. The Rise and Fall for me is not something that I need to really talk about. I don't have anything to say about it either way.
No, I love Rise and Fall, the title track. I first heard it a couple of months before. They did it in session for David Jensen, or The Kid, on Radio 1. And so I was familiar with that and Tomorrow's Just Another Day, because they did that the same session. So I knew those two tracks. Those were the only tracks I knew when I bought the album, just because of the session. And so I like Rise and Fall. I like the way it's straight in, no messing about, straight into the vocals. These are the streets I used to walk. Written by Suggs about his childhood. He spent some of his childhood in Liverpool, so the lyrics refer to that. Casey Street was a street in Liverpool that gets name checked in that. And it was one of the tracks that ended up being used in the Madness musical, Our House, that came out in 2002. That was in that. And I think it's a great track. It's a great opener. Sets the scene for the album. I think it could have been a single, actually. I remember when I listened to the album, I didn't necessarily think of Our House as being the obvious single. I thought either Rise and Fall or Tomorrow's Just Another Day could have been the first single from it. I mean, they did the right thing, obviously, releasing Our House, but I thought they probably would have made better singles at the time. But they could have made, if they insisted on making Tomorrow's Just Another Day a double A side, they could have perhaps put Rise and Fall on the other side rather than Madness Is All in the Mind, and then both sides may have got equal play. Whereas Madness Is All in the Mind is probably just a little bit too different, a bit too downbeat for radio, daytime radio play.
This was my first time this year listening to the album on two occasions, and I think it's really important to mention how that affects the way the album listens. I didn't listen to this album as a 10-year-old kid. Neil did. So obviously his relationship with the record is going to be different to mine, and we'd love to hear how he feels that affects the overall review of the album.
I think it will affect it, totally. I mean, I can understand that, like, obviously, like you're saying, I've been listening to it since I was 10, and you've only listened to it twice recently, so I mean, it'd be the same if it was the other way around. If you were giving me an album to review which I didn't like at the time or didn't buy at the time and just knew the singles, it would be hard for me to, it's tricky. Yeah, it is tricky, but so inevitably I will give it a better review, a higher review than you will, just because I've been familiar with it for over 30 years.
So we move on to the tracks Tiptoes, That Face, Blue Skin Beast. All of these things are passing me by. I like what I like here. It stands out. I'm really thrilled, as I've said a million times, by Primrose Hill. I know the singles, so they have a familiarity to me. On 2 listens, which is what I gave this album, maybe a third actually, I think I did actually when making notes, and I just couldn't come up with anything of any substance for these tracks. But I will say this, because of that affection that I had for Madness, I didn't want to just flush it and be rude about it. It just didn't really grab me. I wasn't a Madness fan as a kid. I was somebody that was more into the kind of artsy-fartsy style groups. I still am. I like Human League, I like Soft Cell, I liked the kind of more alternative, like Depeche Mode. Guys With Makeup With Me were a big hit.
See, I liked all those as well. I never had a problem with any of those bands, but I can imagine that Madness probably appealed to some people who didn't like that side of music, who hated the new romantics and the makeup, and they probably saw Madness as more regular blokes who they could meet down the pub. Well, not when they were kids, they wouldn't be going down the pub, obviously, but
some would.
But yeah, I mean, I never had a problem with that. I always liked the Human League and Soft Cell and Duran Duran as well. I thought were a great singles band, and their stuff up to around Wild Boys kind of time.
Yeah.
So but I think Madness did stand out. It was very different, and there was more to them than say Bad Manners.
Oh God, yeah.
were very much, even though they were another ska influenced band who sort of came from the same scene, although they were never on two-tone.
Although I will say, Walking in the Sunshine's sublime.
Oh, that's great. Yeah, looking back, I mean, I never got it at the time, but looking back, that's their best song, Bad Manners.
That trumpet at the end is like, wow. That trumpet player is like going for it. That's a brilliant song.
But again, I don't know whether I'm saying that because it was them being a little bit more serious, and perhaps that sort of shows I might not have a sense of humour or something, I don't know.
Did you guys have a street party for when Princess Diana got married?
Yeah. Well, not actually our street, but the next street. Yeah, I remember all that. So Can was
the big hit of when Princess Di got married, which is why again a Special Brew I also thought was great.
Special Brew's good. I think as time goes on, I appreciate Bad Manners a bit more. I just used to think, oh, it's Bust the Blood Vessel, bouncing around with his bald head. But I think that as time goes on, I listen back. Apart from things like, was it Nee Nee Na Na?
Oh yeah.
That obviously throwaway, but yeah, Special Brew, Walking in the Sunshine, Lorraine as well. I think it's a good song of theirs.
So talk to us about Tiptoes, That Face.
Right. Well, the thing with me, side 2 of Rise and Fall has got some of my favourite tracks on it, including Tiptoes and That Face. I think they're just lovely songs. I think Tiptoes has it has a really nice keyboard sound to it, a very warm sound, and it really takes me back to, because of the album coming out November 1982, it was obviously dark evenings and cold weather, and it just takes me back to that time, and it has quite a warm sound, so it sort of was appropriate, for those sort of times. So yeah, I love Tiptoes. That Face, another probably a similar sounding song to Tiptoes, very gentle sort of thing. Some strange time signatures on it actually. I think it's same with some of the tracks on it. Not quite progressive rock because the songs aren't long enough, because they're all mostly under 4 minutes long. But it's quite ambitious for Madness. Some of the arrangements. I mean, a guy called David Bedford did all the orchestral arrangements for the album, which I think sounds great. And he released a few albums himself in the 70s, I think, on Virgin. But that Face also a bit of a steal from, I know we mentioned the Beatles before, but there's a definite steal from Yesterday in That Face. That Face was mine only yesterday. My problems seem so far away. And I don't know whether anyone would get away with doing that now without crediting Lennon and McCartney.